What's going on, guys? Sajin here, and I just wanted to give a quick little update on my setup and things. So I want to preface this by saying in the past, I've pretty much always been a Nintendo and Sony gamer. So I normally pick up whatever console Nintendo has at the time, N64, GameCube, Wii U, now Switch, and then since the PlayStation 2 picked up every Sony console since then. So PS2, PS3, PS4, and PS5. And then in terms of Microsoft stuff, my usual go-to message to say to that is like, I already have an Xbox. It's called my gaming computer, and kind of left it at that. But lately, I've steadily been coming over to the Microsoft side of things a little bit more and more, and eventually, and it's this where I'm at now is kind of the climax of that. Since I have picked up this, I now have an Xbox Series S, and this is my very first Xbox that I have ever owned. Now I have a tiny bit of experience with Xbox. I had a few like friends and relatives that had the original Xbox and played at their places from time to time. I played on a 360 like once or twice, and then when I was most recently compared to those, back when I was living with a few friends in an apartment, one of them grabbed an Xbox One, and that's where I had experience with that 2013 Killer Instinct game, which I decided to get and decided to wear my shirt for in commemoration of this day, and a few things like that. But so as to what finally swayed me onto this, because this is probably the interesting part of it, but like what makes a Nintendo, Sony, and PC gamer finally make that push to get an Xbox? And it's a couple things together. So the first thing, possibly the easiest to talk about, is the financial side of it in terms of cost. So this Xbox One S was actually pre-owned and refurbished. So with tax and shipping and everything, I got it for about $270, which is less than I spent for an original Switch back when that came out in 2017. And considering like the amount of power that this thing has and options available, I think that's a really astounding deal. And so I found it kind of hard to pass up. Um, the next thing, the first thing that I was really starting to get on Xbox's side for was the controllers. So a little bit while back, I got an actual Xbox One controller and plugged that into my gaming computer and would play that for games, and that felt nice. Um, with the Xbox Series controllers, I'm like really starting to like. This pre-owned one, it came with. I was expecting just the basic bitch white controller like the system, and I'd seen that in like all the pictures, but this one actually came with a red face controller, and so it's interesting. I can definitely tell it's got some wear and tear to it. The sticks themselves don't look pretty good. I'm not sure how well you can tell on that. I don't think my camera is very high quality up close. But there's definitely some wear and tear to it. But even so, like the grips on the back, the way they texture the grip, it still feels like really, really nice to hold. And I just like the shape of it, and normally the weight of the controller. Um, those of you that have been watching my channel for a while may remember the Sajin controller, which I got back in December of last year. As you can see, it does have my gamer tag on it right there. I made this in the Xbox Design Lab, and I think whereas the red one over here is maybe a Gen 1 Xbox Series controller, I think this one is Gen 2. And this one just feels really, really nice. I haven't had any issues with this controller and have been using it for nearly a year now. And I just love everything about it. The feel is really good. The weight is just fantastic. It's that perfect spot of like, it feels like really high quality, but also very durable. Um, and just all the buttons, the triggers, sticks, everything feels really good and really nice still. So I'm a big fan of these controllers, and also both of their competitors, Nintendo and Sony, have been having a lot of issues with stick drift this generation, and I haven't had any issues with that with Xbox controllers, and I haven't heard anywhere near as many issues with that. So I think generally they're just making better controllers this time, or I guess maybe the correct way to put it is they're just continuing to make good controllers where the competitors are forgetting how to, is maybe a better way to put it. But so controllers were a big thing, and then earlier this year I was gifted a free month of Xbox Game Pass. I originally used it for PC and found some cool stuff on there. So I picked that up and was having a lot of fun with it, and I have not been able to get rid of it. I actually really enjoy the perks of having Game Pass. And I think Game Pass is the big thing that put me over, because with Game Pass and with the stuff I'm having on Steam on my computer, I also want to mention my gaming computer, my gaming laptop, kind of has some storage issues. The model I got does only have a 500 gig SSD in it, which is a bit of a problem with the Steam library that I have, as well as trying to get things on Origin and now Game Pass, and oh god, like Amazon Games is giving away games every now and then. It's becoming a lot, and I mean, sure, there are probably more cost effective ways to up my storage on PC than just buying a complete other system. But with the sheer options that I have with Game Pass, I felt I felt like an Xbox. I felt like it warranted that, and especially another thing is, like, this is not only my first Xbox, but it's my first console I've ever owned that does not have a disc drive in it. Because I did get the disc edition PS5, and I've been pretty adamant that normally I want to get I want to get systems that have that disk capability, because they can help reduce the strain on the storage a little bit by still having some of that on the disk or the cartridge or what have you. But with this one, with Game Pass, like, all the games are kind of from that service and temporary anyway. I felt like it was warranted to get this version. Um, Additionally, also on that topic, another thing about the Series S is it is supposedly an emulation beast. It is, like, really good at emulating games, and that's another thing I've been juggling on my PC, because I normally, almost always, every computer I have, I get some version of Project 64 and some ROMs on there. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to go back and play those games every now and then? There's stuff for everyone to love on that. And which is, like, in the competitors as well, because, like, Nintendo has this service where you pay extra for their old emulated games, and they're not doing a great job at it most of the time. And Sony has a service where you pay more to emulate their old games, and they're not doing that great a job at it. I'm looking at you, Sly Games, on PS5 and PS4 with cloud gaming. But I figure if I could just emulate all those on a dedicated machine like this, could help alleviate that, and maybe I could bring those PlayStation Plus and Nintendo Switch Online tiers down a little bit to help with that. But I haven't messed with the emulation yet. I've been messing with games a little bit, and there's, of course, as I mentioned, I did have a Killer Instinct from back in the day, so I got that installed. There's also Halo Infinite, which is free. So those two games alone, a lot of entertainment there. And then with Game Pass, I have a bunch of other games installed. I was surprised to find I had some Naruto game as well as Grand Theft Auto 5 just in my games library, not part of Game Pass or anything. And I found that interesting because I did not remember getting those. My brother mentioned something about they were giving those away for free at some point, and I just don't remember claiming that. But I had a lot of nice surprises in there. Basically, when I looked at my library for the first time in a while, so already I feel like the system has been worth it. The UI and stuff has been taken some getting used to. It's not terrible. Particularly, I did use the Spotify app on it, and that is the best that app has ever run, or best it ever ran, I believe. It's just so smooth, really nice. And just peripherals, I have those controllers, and then also I wanted to mention this. I did a review on this bad boy a while back, the Fighting Commander Octa for the Xbox. I was going to use it for PC stuff mostly, and I do have fighting games there, so I can still use it there. But now I can use this as a wired controller option for my Xbox as well. So I have some peripheral options there. And then another thing I hadn't considered. There, okay. And another thing I hadn't considered is they seem to be doing backwards compatibility a lot better than Nintendo and Sony, which is crazy. Like, I can just go, like, on this Xbox Series S, I can just go in and buy games from the original Xbox and play them. And that just isn't a thing anymore on the Switch. And that's strange. I mean, Sony had a thing a while back where there are a few PS2 games that were like just available in PS4 library, and that was cool because I got like Dark Cloud 2 and stuff on there. But I just the sheer amount of options on the Xbox side is just really impressing me in a really good way. And it's just really nice. I saw these old games because I never owned an Xbox before, so there were games from back then that I wanted to play. Like I wanted to play like Blinks the Time Sweeper and Voodoo Vince. I remember seeing, oh god, back when G4 TV was originally around, I remember seeing like features and stuff for Voodoo Vince, especially where they were talking about it, and just like just fun games like that. And I never got the chance to play them. And then when I was looking around in the store the other day, I found them, and they're just a few dollars away for what to get. And then there are games like Rare Replay, which is an astounding deal, one of the best deals in the game market right now, where it's 30 games for $30, and a lot of those games are worth a lot more than $1. And so I remember getting a physical copy of that and giving it to my friend who had the Xbox One. Because I could also use it at the time when we were living together, but I guess it didn't actually tie that to my account, and I would have to buy it all over again. But it's very tempting to do that. But I have so many options on the Xbox, and it's really cool. And so now I've always made that distinction where I'm like Xbox, Sony, and PC gamer, and now I can finally add that and Xbox on the end of it. So I've come full circle, and now the only thing I won't do is Epic Game Store. For now, I tend to be a person that is like, I won't do this, and then I eventually do it. Which is why I'm behind on like everything, all the games that I play and everything, by the way. But because like it's crazy to remember a time where I like borderline hated Microsoft and Xbox stuff for a while. I just like never got it, but this I don't know. This gen seems to be going different. And just I've been eventually swayed in their direction. I don't know if I'm necessarily like getting turned away from the others, like in terms of the exclusives. Like obviously they have it, and I still want to play like what games Nintendo and Sony put out. But it's nice to have this little machine so far. It's really cool, and I have so many fun things to fool around with. With Game Pass and the library I had alone, I have a ton of games to work with. And that's the point I wanted to make. Most systems, I mean, you have to, sure, it's a lot of money to get the system at first, and then and that's just the beginning of your investment with it. You need to buy more accessories, and you need to buy a ton more games just to be able to use it. But just like, I already have Game Pass, and so I just have this system, and now I can play anything that's on Game Pass and anything that was already in my library, so I barely have to spend any additional money after getting it, which it just financially makes so much more sense than any of the other systems I have that I'm going to continue to put money in. And so just in so many ways it seemed like a good investment, and I've already gotten more out of it than I thought I would, and I still haven't even messed with the emulation side of things yet. But just like at least on the Xbox side, and like Rare Replay having like so many Nintendo 64 games in it, I almost don't even need to fool with that to get the most out of this system. Although I still will, because there are more obscure games not listed in there, and I doubt Nintendo Switch Online is going to put them in, that I do still want to fool with and see if I can get those in a good capture state, because I did try to capture some Project 64 stuff on my computer and it didn't end up looking that great with the border and everything. So I want to see if I can get a better angle on it for that. But yeah, this is just just a video where I wanted to make the announcement of I'm finally on the Xbox side, and you can look forward to some stuff coming from the Xbox in the future. In terms of Killer Instinct, at least, I do still have that Shadow Lords file on the Steam version that I was playing before, so I probably need to finish that before completely converting back to the Xbox version, where the progress is different, unfortunately. But Halo was a smooth transition, because no matter what you're playing on, it's always through your Xbox account, so everything's still there, and no issues with that. But yeah, it's going to be really fun. I look forward to fooling with it a lot more, and we'll be streaming some stuff off of it in the future, so stay tuned. And thanks for watching. If you have a Xbox of any kind, let me know in the comments below what you think of it, good or bad, or if there's any cool features that maybe I don't know about as a first-time Xbox owner. But until the next video, I'm Sajin, and I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.